I don't even think I have words to describe what I'm feeling now that I've seen the Stranger Things series finale. On one hand, I want to say, damn, I told you guys so. I told you guys not to have faith in the Duffer Brothers, and boy, was I right. It is just insane to me that I have dedicated this many years to a franchise, even though I didn't talk about it on my channel at all. But I dedicated genuinely a good portion of my life to this series because I thought it was groundbreaking, revolutionary even at the time. I thought the story was compelling, there was really interesting elements and stuff that would genuinely terrify me, relatable characters, and all of it. And it seemed like the more that the show progressed, the more it lost what it was truly meant to be. It essentially lost its soul. And the worst part of it too is that I think one major thing that I really enjoyed, besides obviously how well written the show was at the time, were the characters and all the little details that would always come into play and be called back to, and it just unified the story and the whole world. It all felt so real, even though it had all these fictional characters and creatures, all of it. And it's so genuinely frustrating. So I know some of you guys want to hear my thoughts on the finale, and frankly, I can only really sum it up in one way, and that would be I did not like it. I found it abysmal, despite finding a couple things that I found enjoyable. So to get them out of the way, I liked Lucas and Rax. I mean, they were probably the most consistently written characters, consistent pairing of the handful that we had. I liked their dynamic, I always have, and it was nice to have it finally pay off. I would say another thing that I enjoyed would definitely just be that fucking finally Jim and Joyce had their Enzo's date, and unfortunately that's pretty much where all my positives lie. It was bittersweet to see the gang without Elle, without Jane this time, just reminiscing and thinking about their futures and hypotheticals and all of it, and seeing their names and their little binders up on the shelf where Mike can see them, but it still left me feeling empty. There were so many unanswered questions, there were so many plot holes, which I could literally name some of them just right now. And it's just crazy that for a show that focused so much on the details initially, just completely abandoned all of it. And now when the Duffer Brothers are questioned about it, they're kind of just like shrug emoji. I don't know what the fuck. It happened off screen. And it's so genuinely disheartening because this show used to be very much show, not tell. But now it's just let's not show or tell until after the fucking series ends. Like, what the hell? But to summarize it, some details or plot holes that were left unanswered were Susie and Dustin. Susie just is completely gone. She doesn't fucking exist. They didn't break up. At least I don't think, or unless they did, but we wouldn't know because it's never mentioned. Will being part of the hive mind suddenly becomes not actual. It doesn't actually matter anymore because I guess earlier when like the Demogorgons or when Vecna was getting hurt, Will would feel that pain and he would get tired out and all that. But now, all of a sudden, the Mind Flayer and Vecna are dead and it doesn't fucking matter. He's completely fine. And during season 4, when Max wrote letters to the gang for the confrontation with Vecna, they just don't get mentioned at all. Lucas being like the only one who actually references it, but it's pretty much irrelevant. And this one's a real kicker for the Bylers out there, and even just people who enjoy the show. The Duffer Brothers mentioned that Will's painting that he quote-unquote got commissioned to make by 11 was never mentioned again, even though they put such emphasis in saying that it was going to pay off. It never did. And even before season 4, season 5, I can't recall, the Duffer Brothers said that the Demogorgons do not possess any kind of psychic abilities or telepathic abilities, any of that, and yet they never explained who opened Will's door like the lock on it in the very first fucking episode. And there's never really like a definitive reason why Vecna targeted Will or why he even chose the 12 kids. Like, we know that he chose children in specifics because they're weak-minded, but there was never a specific reason as to why it was them 12 kids, or even why 12 kids specifically, or even for that matter why it was so important that Holly would stay there. There was never any explanation for that. And even Derek's family, the Turnbows, they're just completely irrelevant. Like, are they dead? Like, did the police get called? Who knows? And then Dr. K just does not exist. I don't even know if he's alive or dead, but sure. Okay. And we saw Max's mom, and now she's just gone. She's just, yeah, just doesn't, she's just gone, I guess, too. And even as late as the series finale, it's not even clear whether or not Robin is still with Vicky. And according to the Duffers, it's up to your interpretation, which is such a bullshit answer. Like, you're the fucking show writers. What do you mean you don't know? And I could go on and on about the various plot holes and all of that. But I think, obviously, besides all of that, I just felt so dissatisfied. Obviously, as you might have seen from my previous video, I am not happy with the blatant queer baiting that occurred in the show. I had people who weren't even in shipping culture or they didn't even partake in it. They didn't partake in shipping culture, and even they told me, like, people I would talk to in my daily, like, they would tell me themselves that they expected there to be payoff for Mike and Will, which now that I'm learning, the only reason why that existed was because of Ross Duffer's ex-wife. She was the one who actually wrote that really compelling coming out scene from Robin. But it's clear that as soon as she left, the show was just in shambles, basically. I don't know if that's 100% true, but that's what I've heard. And it makes sense because it was clear as day that Mike and Will were supposed to be, if not necessarily together, there was going to be some form of connection, some form of relationship forming besides them being friends. Though obviously it was pretty obviously meant to be romantic, because there was even talks about how, oh, like, well, at least we'll go crazy together after they mentioned that, or after they showed that scene with Jonathan and Nancy saying that, oh, like, you become crazy for love, the things you do for love, you know. It's like, oh, someone only acts that crazy unless they're in love, which pretty much correlates with that conversation between the two of them. And it's just insane. It's even more insane too, because if they did not intend for Mike and Will to be together romantically, why the fuck did they make Mike so awkward looking kissing his girlfriend and struggle time after time to say that he loved her? Why was he fucking wide-eyed when being kissed by Jane, by 11, and it was quite literally in front of an open closet? Like, the symbolism is there. They cannot act like it wasn't there, it was never planned. And more so, it doesn't explain, or actually, it would make no sense for it to be the case, because then why was Mike so awkward when giving Will a hug after they haven't seen each other since they were in California? That does, like, what was the purpose of that? What was the purpose of him putting emphasis like, no, we're just friends, we're like, she's my girlfriend, we're just friends? What was the purpose of that then? What was the point of the pain scene if it had no payoff? What was the point then of Will indirectly confessing his feelings for Mike, if only just to push this very heteronormative slop ship? Because if you take all that context out, that Mike could have been closeted, it just makes him look like a homophobic asshole. It just makes him look like a terrible boyfriend to 11, to Jane. And it's really sad because, as I've mentioned in some of the comments from my previous video, and whenever people try to debunk Byler, they always mention, oh, but like, why is it such a crime for Mike and 11 to be a couple then, huh? Why do you guys want Mike and Will to be together? And it's because, do you guys not realize that she learned to make out and be so male focused before she even learned her real name, before she even learned to speak coherent sentences? And I'm not saying that Mike did all this out of malicious intent or anything like that. but that's not normal. That's not an okay thing for someone who is quite literally mentally stunted, like mentally younger than she actually is, to just immediately jump into this world of like, let's just make out with the first boy that I met who doesn't abuse me. Which the crazy part is, there were so many instances where Mike would be like yelling at Elle, or even just like saying like, what is wrong with you, like, oh, what did you do, and like completely not understand her perspective on things and her feelings, or even be mindful towards her a lot of the time. And they would tie parallels to Papa, like what, like that's not the W that you think it is. And then especially when you think about that, that makes that scene, which spoilers by the way if you haven't already seen, which I'm sure everybody has, the Purple Rain scene where Mike and 11 share their last kiss. She goes on this ramble about how, oh, you're the only person who understands me, Mike, you always have since the beginning. But it's not even true though, because we've seen it time and time again where he doesn't understand her perspective on things, or even calls her dramatic, can't even say that he loves her. It's like, no, actually, if anything, just like Millie Bobby Brown said in an interview, it should have been Will in that situation of her last true conversation with somebody before she, you know, ultimately sacrifices herself. Should have been Will, because he, out of everybody, if not even Hopper, understood her more than anybody else. But of course, we gotta put in that heteronormative slop. Let's get in here, heterosexuals. Woohoo! This is the W we want. Which, again, Mike can't even say that he loves her, even when she's about to fucking die. Brother still can't even say that he loves her, and he couldn't even actually hold on to her. His hand was like hovering over her almost, and it's insane. But I think, even as I mentioned, all of that queer baiting and all of that horrendous writing that went through, that went down, I think one thing that truly frustrates me the most is the treatment of Elle. And I know it sounds hypocritical because people are gonna say, oh, but you're a Byler shipper, like you want Mike to be with Will, which I'm like, firstly, I wouldn't even call myself a shipper, because realistically the only pairing I've truly cared about this for the entirety of the series is Lucas and Max. But ignoring that for a second, I still think they did her dirty, because again, I don't need to keep mentioning this, but her entire life that was outside of being a lab rat, being an experiment, was just so male-centered. She was thinking that Mike was like a brother because it's based off how he explained things to her, and he's like, nope, not like a brother, not like a sister, we're actually dating now because I like you and you're the first girl who hasn't been mean to me, basically. And well, again, there's nothing inherently malicious or weird about it at first glance. The more I thought about it as I was growing up, I was like, no, this is kind of odd. I don't think it's normal for someone that young, especially with that much trauma, and again, being mentally regressed to being like a little child I don't think that's normal, and I don't think that's good or even healthy for a relationship. They were so trauma bonded that they genuinely didn't even really know each other as people. And again, it's further emphasized with how much Mike really didn't understand her, and how much he was so unable to actually show that he loved her. And I think what's really disheartening is that, again, she had such little life to live as a normal girl. Pretty much everybody around her, with the exception of Max, mind you, saw her as just a normal person. It was always Elle, it was always 11, never Jane. And Max was the only character who basically told her, like, you don't have to do what other people want you to do. Like, you can find what you like and you can live your life based off your own choices and your own free will. And yet the show, to some extent, was trying to paint her as a villain for that. And that's really, really weird. I've never understood that. I was always on Max's side, if I'm being completely honest. But the worst of it all is that I am sick and tired of the endless loop of every time we have an abuse victim portrayed in media, How do we break the cycle, guys? Let's kill ourselves. Let's sacrifice ourselves. Like, what kind of message does that send to real victims out there? And I know some people are gonna argue that it's realistic and that, oh, it was bound to happen though. It started with L, it's gonna end with L. But that is just truly depressing. Can you imagine living your entire life, or at least a majority of your life, just on the run from the military, being experimented on, being seen as nothing but a weapon, and the moment that you get to live your life, even for a short while, outside of that, and your only option is to, or seemingly your only option is to kill yourself, that is just horrible. And it's truly upsetting too, because in a show that was seemingly going to have so many deaths, oh my god, we're gonna have all of these people killed off, and of course she's the one who falls victim to it. Why is she the one who can't have a happy ending? It's just exactly like I mentioned. We can't even have queer characters have a happy ending. Now we can't even have what's seemingly supposed to be almost like disabled representation. We can't even have them have a happy ending. They can't have they can't live a normal life. Or we can't have abuse victims live a normal life. Who are we writing this for? Realistically, who are we writing this for? It's just not even about the shipping at this point. It's the fact that the Duffer Brothers thought, hey, we have this girl who's gone through immense trauma and physical, mental, emotional abuse over and over again, just to kill her and make her seem like a burden. Yeah, guys, she's actually supposed to represent letting go of childhood. She didn't even get to have a childhood. She didn't get to have any of that. And before you guys come at me with it's not that deep, no, it really is that deep. It is that deep. For a show that was supposed to be for the outcast, for the marginalized, the weirdos out there, it was just a show made to profit off of outcasts while upholding conformity. Black characters were being diminished to stereotypes. Queer characters were developed off-screen and forced to come out when they weren't ready. Forced to not even have a happy ending, mind you. And the female heroine that they built up since season 1 is either supposed to be in an incubator, being abused, or dead. Do you not see the issue here? I'm just baffled. On one hand, it does make me a little sad because, again, I stuck around with Stranger Things from the very beginning, and even despite its faults, its many flaws, I'm still going to mourn the show that it once was, and yet I'm glad it ended. But I truly hope that Netflix or whatever studio or companies out there, you do not let these motherfuckers write a show again, because once again, it's just been proven to me time and time again, especially now that anytime a show is meant to be for the nonconformists, the queer community, the LGBT community, disabled people, any of that, it's not meant for us. It's never meant for us. Special shout out to Chomps for being a gourmet gummy over on Patreon, and thank you to all my other patrons.